Namaste and welcome to an overview of Employees State Insurance Act 1948. We will study this act starting with its objects and scope, finding out the interrelationship between the factory, employee, employer, wage limit and ESI fund, which are linked to each other. Having seen its objects and scope, we will then move on to the contribution which is required to be made by the employer as well as the employee, when the amount has to be paid, and what are the parameters of employment injury and disablement which are relevant for utilization of the contribution. We will then move on to benefits as provided under section 46, largely sickness benefit, maternity benefit, disablement and benefit to the dependents, medical attendance and treatment to self and family, and in case of deceased persons, funeral expenses. We will also look into what are the norms which are applied by the ESI for different treatments and claims made by the beneficiaries. And at the end, we will also understand what is ESI code, how recovery of amount due from an employer is ensured under the scheme, and what are the do's and don'ts for an employer when an employee is having a claim or sickness. And this will give us an overview of the Act of 1948. Under object and scope, we will be looking into what is the main object of this Act. It protects the interest of employees during sickness, injury and disablement, and will also be of help to his family and dependents. And this is applicable to factories, and we will see the definition of factory and its inclusions and exclusions separately. And the Act envisages an ESI fund. All contributions and debts, donations which are received are pooled in this ESI fund account, and appropriations are made based on the requirement. For coverage of ESI for any factory or establishment, employee's wage limit is 21,000. We will look into the definition of wage very soon. Employee is also called insured person because he is insured against risk of sickness, injury and disablement. And the Act provides for benefits to the insured person and his family and dependents. Having seen these aspects, we are left with factory, wages, employee and employer in greater detail. Let us take factory as such. Factory, as defined under the ESI Act, includes all factories other than seasonal factories, which employs more persons than 10 or 10 number of people on any day during the preceding 12 months. And once it becomes a part of ESI, even if the number of employees goes down below 10, it doesn't make any difference, it continues. Seasonal factory is one which is having, in a period of 12 months, it will operate for only 7 months or less, and the manufacturing processes which are linked to seasonal are cotton ginning, sugar, tea processing, and jute pressing, and these are kept outside the ambit of ESI Act. Then we have got the ESI fund. Through the ESI fund, the amount of contribution and grants, donation and gifts are accumulated. And this acts as a reservoir of funds for making payment of benefits to the insured persons and for their medical treatment, for administrative expenses of managing the ESI as an organization with all its committees and subcommittees and ESI corporation. It has to maintain hospitals, dispensaries and other institutions. It has to pay contribution for usage of government hospitals and private hospitals. It has to set up employees' insurance courts, and it has to defend litigations, file cases, and do as many things as are required to protect the interests of the employees as well as the corporation as such. All these appropriations are made out of the ESI fund, which is set up and maintained by the ESI corporation. Then we have got the employee. Employee is a person who is employed for wages in terms of a contract, and it can be a factory or establishment. There are three variations of an employee. He can be directly employed with the employer, therefore it is employer and employee direct. Second, he can be through an immediate employer, in the sense he works with his employer and his employer works at the site of the principal employer. It is principal employer, under him immediate employer, and then comes the employee. Third, he works with an immediate employer, but the immediate employer doesn't supervise him on a daily basis. His services are lent and he works directly under the principal employer. Therefore, in all these three, he is an employee covered under the ESI Act. It is also relevant to see what family means as regards an employee. Family includes the insured person and his spouse, minor child till he or she attains 21 years of age, an unmarried daughter, an infirm child, dependent parents with no adequate income of their own, and if the person insured is unmarried, his or her parents, if they are not alive, his brother who are minors and sister who are unmarried. This family becomes relevant when claiming benefits under the ESI scheme. When the employee is dead, his dependents will be getting benefit under the Act. Therefore, the requirement for defining the dependent. Dependent is mainly a widow, a legitimate minor son, an unmarried daughter, and a widowed mother. It also includes an infirm son or daughter, and a parent other than widowed mother. Widowed mother is already considered in item number 1. A minor brother or unmarried sister or a widowed daughter, a widowed daughter-in-law, a minor child of a predeceased son, a minor child of a predeceased daughter, and a paternal grandparent if no parent of the insured is available. Now, this gives us a brief idea about the employee, his family for the sake of medical benefit, and his dependent in the event of the death of the employee. Then comes the employer. As we saw, there is a concept of principal employer, immediate employer, and occupier of a factor. Principal employer is the owner or occupier. In his demise, it is his legal representative. And if there is a manager appointed by the principal employer, he is also included as a part of principal employer. Now, the owner or the legal representative or the manager, they have got one thing in common. They have got ultimate control over the affairs of the establishment. Immediate employer is employed by the principal employer to carry out work at the premises. Now, this immediate employer may make use of his own employees to work with him, and in such a case, the employee who works under immediate employer will be under his supervision, and the immediate employer will be under the direct supervision of the employer. And the concept of occupier of a factory is for the sake of responsibility for events that are happening in the premises. Once again, it emerges from the key feature of ultimate control over affairs of the company. It is worth noting a small case regarding Royal Talkies, Hyderabad, wherein the theatre owner, who was the principal employer, was held responsible for covering employees of canteen and cycle stand, which were run by external private contractors, but the premises was that of the theatre. The theatre owner became the principal employer, and the private contractor became the immediate employer, and his employees had to be covered under ESI, and the responsibility arose. Now, this talks of the relevance of the concepts principal employer, who is always responsible for the payment of ESI contribution, and he can collect it from the immediate employer, and immediate employer can collect the employee's contribution from the employee's salary. That way, we have covered now object, factory, seasonal factories, ESI fund, wages limit of 21,000, employee or insured person, his family and dependents, employer, principal employer, immediate employer, and the occupier. Under contributions, we have aspects of what is the contribution of the employer. Contribution is the sum which has to be paid by the principal employer, both on behalf of employer and employee. Employer contributes 4.75% of workers' wages. We will come to the word wages immediately after this, and employee's contribution will be 1.75. Employer has to collect this amount and remit it within 21 days of the succeeding month after the payment is due, and it will be his responsibility. And this contribution is used for the sake of protecting against the risk of employment injury and disablement. Employment injury may be due to accident or occupational disease, and disablement may be permanent or temporary, which we will see it in detail. Before that, we need to see what do we mean by wages. We said 4.75% of wages is contributed by the employer, 1.75% of the wages is contributed by the employee. Now here we have to note, wages means all remuneration in terms of the contract, including the leave salary, but it does not include contribution towards pension or provident fund, any traveling reimbursement or traveling concession, and any special expenses reimbursed or any gratuity payable or contribution. To put it simply, it includes basic pay, dearness allowance, city compensatory allowance, HRA, and any other allowances which are paid along with the monthly wages. As good as considering it is a gross pay which is paid every month, on which 4.75% of employer's contribution and 1.75% of employees' contribution is transferred. Now, as we saw, the amount which is collected as contribution is used for risk of disablement, temporary or permanent, and partial or total. Now, the disablement is a condition, if it is temporary, requiring medical treatment. It is a temporary incapability which has to be supported with medical treatment. Permanent partial disablement is disablement of a permanent nature, but it doesn't involve 100% incapacity. It reduces the earning capacity. To that extent, the employee needs to be protected. Whereas the third situation of permanent total disablement means disablement of a permanent nature, in the sense it incapacitates the employee from all work which he was capable of doing before the accident occurred. Now, these three situations are behind every case of medical benefit or compensation under the Employees State Insurance Act. Now, coming back to the Act has got Schedule 2, which lists two types of injuries, Part 1 injury and Part 2 injury. In Part 2, you find a list of injuries, and against each injury, it indicates what is the percentage of disablement. Whereas in case of Part 1, the injuries listed are permanent total disablement, means they are of 100% disability. Part 1 lists injured deemed to result in permanent total disablement, like loss of both hands, 100% disability. Loss of a hand and a foot, 100%. Loss of sight, 100%. Very severe facial disfigurement, 100%. This is total disablement, which we are talking of disablement of a permanent nature, totally incapacitates a person. Incapacity, which is indicated from injuries in Part 2, are only partial. Their percentage will be less than 100. But each disability, if it is less than 100, but if there is a combination of two or more injuries, if the total percentage aggregate goes to 100, that will be treated as a total disablement. Now, these percentages help us to categorize the incidences into temporary disablement, permanent total disablement, and permanent partial disablement, and accordingly contribute to their amelioration and support during their bad period. We have covered employer, employee, their contribution, disablement, and injury. Section 46 lists of benefits which are available to employees in terms of the Act. First benefit is sickness benefit. Sickness benefit is a very, very minimal medical support to the employee. It is based on the certificate given by a duly appointed medical practitioner. Second, maternity benefit to the female employees arising out of pregnancy, confinement, and such women being certified to be eligible for maternity benefit. Then we have got disability from employment injury. Periodical payments will be made to them depending upon the nature of disability and certificate obtained from the doctor to the doctor. If the employee dies unfortunately due to an employment injury, his dependents will be getting a medical benefit as a monthly payment for a specific period of time. This is where we consider the definition of dependents to be very, very relevant. The insured person, besides the sickness benefit, he is also eligible for medical treatment in the course of life, and at the request of the government and as per the rules of the scheme, medical benefits can also be made available to family of an insured person. This is where we also look into what is family of an insured person. In the said demise case of an employee, the person who takes care of the funeral of the insured person will be reimbursed the expenditure on funeral, and that is known as funeral expenses. These are the 6 heads under which the insured person are normally supported by ESI. Now, when it comes to treatment, what are the terms that are applicable to them? We can have a look at it. The medical benefit can be an outpatient treatment, it can be an inpatient treatment, or it can also be a visit to the insured person. Doctor can visit him. Only condition that is required to be fulfilled here is that whenever a person claims these benefits, he has to ensure that his name appears on the contributories list, and there should be continued contribution coming from the company. And we have to note that even when a person has retired, himself and his family are eligible for the benefit of ESI, provided his name and his contribution continue on the records in support of the same. We need to note very specifically, any benefit that comes, it will be subject to terms and conditions of ESI Corporation. The patients do not have any say in the selection of type of hospital, type of treatment, type of doctor, or type of facilities. It is all at the discretion of ESI. And even when it comes to reimbursing the expenses incurred by the insured persons, it will be restricted as per the allowance under the policy of ESI. And we have got 6 types of benefits that we saw. We have got sickness benefit, we have got maternity benefit, disablement benefit, dependence benefit, and medical treatment benefit. Now, these should not be clubbed with each other. For example, clubbing sickness and maternity benefit, or sickness or disablement benefit, or maternity benefit and disablement benefit for temporary disablement, this clubbing is not permitted because it amounts to misuse of the facility and overlap of benefits available. Any benefits which are available to an insured person, they cannot be assigned to a third party. And any benefit which is offered to an employee under ESI Act cannot be attached by a court order or decree in its execution. And every insured person has got an obligation to return to the corporation any benefit that he has received by mistake. As we note, the employee sometimes can avail benefit under various laws, but ESI Act specifically says, although the option is there to avail under multiple laws, you can avail under only one law. There cannot be duplication of benefits. Now, this is so far as the benefit and its terms as indicated in the ESI Act. That takes us to how the scheme of ESI has established a mechanism of addressing complaints and recovering money. We have got ESI Court, which we will deal with its details separately. Then we have provision for recovery of contributions. Basically, ESI runs based on the amount collected from the employer and the employee. If there is an amount in arrears from the employer, there is a procedure under which the recovery could be ensured through the recovery officer by issue of a certificate by the authorized officer, and the recovery officer will collect the same as if it is an arrear of land revenue by attaching the movable or immovable properties of the defaulter, or also ensuring his arrest to ensure the payment is forthcoming, and appointing a receiver wherever it is relevant and required. And the stringent provisions ensure that contribution which is due to ESI is recovered in time and in the right amount. The Act also states, just because ESI benefits are given to an employee, the employer should not find it as an excuse to reduce the wages of the employee. If there is any dues to the ESI corporation and the party goes insolvent or bankrupt, while the proceedings of liquidation and insolvency are finalized, all dues to ESI will be having priority over the rest of liabilities of the company, and they can be paid only after ESI dues are cleared. And it is also specified in the Act that during the period of sickness and availing medical benefit by the insured employee, employer is forbidden from dismissing or punishing or issuing any termination notice during the period. Recovery, employer not to reduce wages, priority in payment on liquidation and insolvency, employer not to dismiss or punish during sickness. And ESI code. ESI code is the prominent instrument which is established by the state government. It will be for each local area, or it may have multiple local areas, or there may be multiple codes for a single local area at the discretion of the state government. The Employees Insurance Code looks into all matters of contest, all matters of dispute between the employer and employee or any other third party. Basically, it looks into liability to pay contribution, rate of wages or average daily wages. Is the contribution from the employer or employee is as per the terms or as per the requirements of the Act? Who is the principal employer in respect of a specific employee? Whether the right of any benefit or amount or duration, is it appropriate? Any other matter which relates to principal employer, the corporation, immediate employer, employee, all decided by the ESI code or Employees Insurance Code. And this code has got all the powers of a civil court in summoning people, compelling the discovery and production of documents, administering oath and recording evidence. And an order of ESI court is as good as an order of a court enforceable as if it were a decree passed in a suit by civil court. ESI court decisions are not subject to appeal. However, if there is a question of law involved substantially, then one can approach the High Court and not otherwise. And for approaching High Court on a matter of substantial question of law, there is a limitation period of 60 days. And ESI Court thus takes care of everything.